The Looker newspaper have just opened new offices in New Romney, and what better way to showcase that success than via the newly formed TV company. I'm Kerry King, probably best known as a butterfly anorak, and you've probably seen me on BBC talking about butterflies or heard me on radio talking about wildlife. But I've left my fluttery friends and I've joined the team at Looker, and we're going to bring to you local news on our own TV channel.
Well, I started the newspaper about 3 years ago. Wasn't really sure whether it would work or not. It was a challenge laid down by another editor from another newspaper who I questioned why there wasn't enough Romney Marsh news in his edition of his paper. At that point he said you couldn't have a paper solely with information on the marsh on it. There wasn't enough news, it wouldn't be financially viable. And I thought, well, how hard can it be? So I said, well, I'm going to start one. Welcome to the Looker, you better come in. And he said he'd give it 3 editions and it would never be more than 12 pages, and since then it's never been less than 24 pages, which was our first edition. We now currently run at about 48 pages and do 12,000 copies every 2 weeks.
How difficult was it to start a newspaper?
Well, it's pretty difficult because firstly I'm dyslexic, and there's a funny story about our first edition. I did it in a program called Quark, which I'd never used before, but I knew that printers liked it. I did it, gave it to my father to proofread. He spent 2 days on the first edition making sure that every comma, every punctuation mark and every spelling was right, saved the file under a different name. I thought he'd overwritten my file, and I sent my one off to the printers. So the first edition of the Looker actually had about 200 mistakes in it. But because it was local content and people could see what the vision of the paper was, they liked it.
Round my hometown, memories of phrase. Round my hometown, ooh, the people I've made.
The aim of the paper basically is local news, local views for local people, by local people.
How the wonders of this world are the wonders now.
But the biggest problem has always been getting the advertising in. It's very hard to get someone to believe in your vision and your dream because they've got nothing to see. So to go out there and try and sell advertising with something that hasn't been produced yet was quite hard work. But we was quite lucky that I'm reasonably well known around New Romney, and we launched the newspaper just after the New Romney Country Fair. So we printed about 3,000 flyers, entered a little float in the procession, and made this bold statement that in 1 month's time the Romney Marsh, as it was, Looker, was being launched. That was the easy bit. The hard bit was actually coming up with that first edition.
Shows that we ain't gonna stand shit, shows that we are united. Round my hometown, memories are fresh. Round my hometown, ooh, the people I've met, yeah.
Staff are my absolute backbone. As I'm sure you'll see in the coming weeks, I've got a great team of people around me. I've got Craig Avery, who helps out from the offset doing our sport. My father is probably the biggest key component. He does the proofreading and tells me that he turns my rubbish into English at times. But in the office, 2 women that I definitely can do without. We've got Jackie Cowling, who does all our admin, all our invoicing and chasing up the money, and without the money we can't work. And Jill Hernandez, who's just been a complete breath of fresh air to this office. She sells our advertising. She comes in about 5 mornings a week. She's on the phone from the word go until she clocks off, and she's excellent.
Round my hometown, memories afraid.
Well, Look at Radio actually comes off of something that I started up several years ago, which was Romney Marsh FM. Romney Marsh FM, exactly the same outlet. We didn't feel that Romney Marsh was getting a particularly good coverage on radio. I worked in radio most of my life, so I thought, why not start my own radio station? With the offset of the newspaper coming along, we decided to change its name to Look at Radio. It's on 24 hours a day. You can go to it either via the newspaper website or just to lookaradio.co.uk, and it's a mixture of everything from talk shows to music shows covering every genre from jazz and blues music right the way through to punk, and it has on average about 5,000 listeners a week.
You get the people and the government, everybody taking different sides. Shows that we ain't gonna stand.
I've got no idea what TV's about. It's sort of just happened.
Gonna take it. Shows that we ain't gonna stand.
I was looking at the website. I thought there's a company called All Free Media, which is very big in the international industry, that run TV stations, satellite TV, radio, and into print. I just thought All Free Media, that's what we need. There is no other media. We've got newspaper, the written word, spoken word on the radio. Let's get the visual thing out there. And the initial thought was to get together with Kerry King to come out there and film one story every couple of weeks and just put it up there. It's sort of grown from that. We've been commissioned to do all kinds of things. We're being asked to cover events. Look at TV will be at things like the Hythe Venetian Fete this year. It's going to be doing the country fair, the air show, you name it. Look at TV will be there. Well, as you can see, this has been totally unrehearsed. It's going to be a waltz and all, fly on the wall documentary. You'll get to meet all the team. You've come at a very exciting time. We've only just moved into this office. We're going to follow me around through the highs and the lows, and there's quite a few lows. You'll see me getting very stressed, especially on a Friday when I have to pay the girls. We're going to cover everything on Shepway.